In the tapestry of life, where every thread holds a story, America in black and white emerges as a haven for the voices echoing through the heart of our communities. In this podcast, we wade through the rivers of our collective experiences, celebrating the vibrant hues of change brought forth by the whispers of hope and the roars of action. It's more than just a conversation. It's a journey into the heart of our society, illuminated by the light of those daring to dream and do. Join us, and let your voice be the melody that guides us toward a dawn where every color finds its place in the masterpiece of our shared destiny. Together, let's paint a future brimming with the positives that dwell in our minds and the actions that shape our world.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Join us live tonight here, January 23rd at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, as we get ready for Final Word Friday. Welcome to another powerful edition of Final Word Friday. This space was created for truth-telling, accountability, and the kind of conversations that sharpen us as leaders, neighbors, and community builders. Every week we gather not just to talk, but to think deeply, challenge assumptions, and elevate the dialogue through the issues shaping our lives. Tonight we're joined by three men whose journey reflect service, resilience, and purpose in three very different arenas. We have Mr. Broderick Rory, a bold advocate and health clinician here for the community clinics and public health there in North Carolina. And he advocates for the LGBTQ community, standing on the front lines of equity, visibility, and human dignity. We have Mr. James Abdullah, an entrepreneur carrying the weight and the pride of a family legacy while drawing on the discipline and grit of being a former college athlete. And we have Mr. Oz Nesbitt, a former city manager who understands the complexities of leadership, governance, and the responsibilities of stewarding a community's future. Three perspectives, three lived experiences, one conversation rooted in truth and transformation. So settle in, share this stream, and invite someone into the room. This is Final Word Friday, where we close the week with intentions. Let's see. There's Mr. Rory. It's Mr. Abdullah. I guess Oz is not here. Good evening, guys. Welcome to the show.
Good evening. How are you?
Yes, I'm just great. Thank you guys for being here. I really do appreciate it. Is there anything that you guys would like to say to the audience before we get into the show?
Happy to be here.
Yeah, likewise. Just looking forward to seeing where everything goes.
Yes, sir. Well, this is Final Word Friday, and what we do on Final Word Friday is we like to talk about the hot topics of the week, and we also like to get not just your feedback on those topics, but your comments as to how this goes and where you see the effects of our communities in many, many ways are being affected, what some of the things we can do, and how we can work together to make things happen. And I would like to kick things off by asking you guys about your opinion here about the healthcare subsidies that's sitting in the Senate that have not yet been approved. But people in the waning moments here that can afford healthcare are about to pay these really, really high prices here. That is whether it's going to the doctor to get services and paying these co-pays or whatever have you. And the prices are like rising and rising and rising like crazy. What are you guys' opinion about that? And how do you think we should be able to handle this? Because the government shutdown is on the rise again, because that's set for them doing this in February. What are you guys' opinion on that? Robert?
I'll say this. Congress knew that these subsidies were ending months ago. And the Republicans in particular, who have been in office, they've always talked about making changes to the Affordable Care Act, but they've never come up with a feasible plan to make any changes. I believe, this is me personally, that they want to see it die. They don't care about folks, unserved communities, and those that need the subsidies and need the healthcare coverage. I work in public health. I work with communities that are impacted by this. Where I currently work, we pay the healthcare premiums for many of our patients. Right now, once we're paying the subsidies for, it's $9,000. If it doubles, we're going to end up paying $18,000 a month. And we're going to have a conversation next week to see if we can afford to pay the $18,000 a month. That's a lot of money to come out of pocket to pay to ensure that people remain covered. But at the end of the day, folks voted for this. They voted for this because they thought it was going to impact Black and brown folks. It's that honest conversation. They thought it was going to impact Black and brown folks, and now they're being impacted. And now they want to double down and wind it back because they're being impacted.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off that a little bit. I mean, for me, I'll be honest, and this is something, this topic we could talk probably the whole hour for, or even more. To me, I look at everything as a business structure, and you're only as good as your low-level employee. And the way that this country is being run, as a cultural standpoint, it's failing. And we have inadequate leadership that trickles down all the way down, and it shows that you don't care about the janitor, you don't care about the low-level employee in your business in order to keep your engine running. And it's clear that they don't care. They're all about their own personal agendas, especially in the political realm that we live in now. These politicians, whether they're Democrat, Republican, Independent, I don't care. I have no faith in our democracy at all. To be honest, I always talk to my wife about this, and I wish I could just pack up and leave this country. And it's not that it's a patriotic statement. It's just, it's a failed system. And, especially being a brown person, a minority in this country, why support an engine that doesn't want to see you succeed and doesn't give you the support that you deserve? So for me, this is, it's not surprising that, these subsidies are going to disappear. And what are they going to do? Probably nothing. The people are still going to suffer. And it's a shame. And like I said, we could go on and on and on about it, but that's just my 2 cents. I'm very disgusted at where we are as an economy, as a society, things that we put value on. I mean, we can go and give these athletes and entertainers multi-millions and $500 million contracts and all this, but we can't take care of our people that are starving, need healthcare, need proper education, any of that. So, and that's coming from a former athlete. And, I'm friends with some of the greatest athletes that have ever lived, and not to name drop, but it's hard to see where we are as a society.
What I think is so crazy about that is, both of you all made more than valid points, because when you just think about it, we know that, hey, if this is what the people voted for, this is what they wanted, then this is what they're getting. But not everybody wanted this. On the, when we talk about the political side of this, you're absolutely right, James, when you talk about, Republicans, Democrats, and independents alike, where they're sitting here and they know that this is about to happen. They know that the government has been roughshod and ran over, and they knew what the ramifications and the effects could be for those individuals, that for all the millions of people that had got on the Affordable Health Care Act and had health care, it was adequate. And to take that away after having that many people on health care, that's more than a failed system. That's more than a failed system. I mean, the thing is, what I think most of us probably should think about, especially from the political perspective, is why are we really voting for most of these people that have been there in these seats for 20 and 30 years, and you haven't seen any results yet. But yet and still, you may have some people that want to that want to represent the change that the people need to see, or the people that get torpedoed and they never get an opportunity. So how can we actually say that the system that we're supporting, or the system that's in place, if it's there, should we be able to do something to change that?
I personally believe that the whole entire system needs to be imploded and just start over. I believe that for some years now, because this country was never founded to serve anybody but white men in particular. That's a real honest conversation that we need to have. It is set up to serve white men and white men only. I believe they need, just like they do with the president, they need to set term limits for those that are in Congress and Senate. That's why we have a lot of the problems that we have. That's my personal belief, because you have people that go along with the old regime.
Mm-hmm.
Those folks sitting in seats, they may come in Congress earning $50,000 a year. They leave Congress and the Senate millionaires. A lot of them do, because of the deals that those backdoor deals that they make to vote a certain way. If we want to have real conversations, and I don't care what the political party is, they're showing us that they don't care about the average American who's put them in these seats.
Right.
And folks need to understand how important the midterms are. The midterms are super important, but not just the midterms. Folks need to understand also is your local elections as well. Your local elections are super important also.
Mm-hmm.
We need to stop being so apathetic and vote for people that are in your best interest. I don't care whether they're Democrat or Republican, people that are actually going to get the job done and serve your best interest.
Mm-hmm.
Change is not going to happen until we wake up and stop sitting on the sidelines. Look at a lot of people that sat home and sat on the sidelines and didn't vote.
Yeah.
And especially Black and brown folks that didn't vote when folks died for us to have the right to vote. And now they're trying to take that away. If they take that away, then you lose your voice altogether. Then you just have to do whatever they tell you.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you, what also goes along with that is that this person that's occupying the White House is, wanting to be a dictator for real, and now is trying to take over particular countries and territories. And I'm trying to figure out, like, we supposedly have the checks and balances of both the Congress, the Senate, as well as the Supreme Court. Why are they letting him just run and just take over these countries or do things to these small countries that can't fight back against America?
Can we start with why are they allowing him to do what he's doing in this country first? Let's talk about what's happening here in America first, and then outside countries. I'll say this, and some people won't agree with this. Again, this country was founded by white men. White men, their game's the same. If you really study their plays are the same. All they know is to conquer, steal, and pillage. That's their playbook. They're not emotionally intelligent at all, no whatsoever. And we have to start fighting them with emotional intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
Beat them at their own game, because they're not thinkers.
Mm-hmm.
They operate like cavemen, honestly. They do. Savage, they do. They came and took this country savagely.
And I'll double down on that to where, to Broderick's point, why is he allowed to do this in this country? But why is it that we allowed him to be elected? What prerequisite qualification did this man have to be the president of the United States? He has no political experience. To me, that should be the number one requirement for a political candidate for whether it's your alderman, the congressman, you need to have a starting place, and you need to go through the growing pains. You're not just going to let a person come in, to a 500 Forbes 500 corporation and just become the CEO overnight. You're going to make them go through a vetting process. You're going to make sure that they have the proper qualifications, education, everything else, right? We just allowed this man to come in, run this country into the ground. Not even just him, but prior presidents as well. It's just, that's why, even to Broderick's point about imploding the system has been broken. The system was never designed properly in the first place. It was designed off of power, dictatorship. Even, you want to say this is a great democracy and all this stuff, and I get it that we do have, in the United States, we do have a lot of freedoms that people take for granted that you cannot do in other countries. We can talk openly like we're doing right now about politicians, about the course of our country. And if we did this somewhere else, we'd probably get our heads cut off. But that's the things that we sometimes take for granted. But there are flaws in this system where we allow people to come in, represent our country and our people that don't have the qualification to do it. And then even the voting process, a lot of people are confused when they even go to the polls. So that's where you get a lot of people that don't show up, don't vote, because they don't even know what they're voting for. Or even if you do get somebody that wants to make change, they get bullied by either, and we were just talking about healthcare and insurance, they either get bullied by big pharma or they get bullied by the insurance companies, to where they have all the right intentions coming in, but then they also get their backs put against the wall saying, hey, if you don't conform, if you don't push our agenda, you're going to lose your career. We're going to hurt you. They can take people out. I mean, let's not, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but people have been taken out from falling against the grain. So, I mean,
it's true.
That's real. It's stuff that happens.
But so when we talk about our electoral system, because that's a really good point as well. And when we think about it, this man had from all these different different crimes that he was convicted of, he had a total of 96 felonies, the majority of them here in Georgia. And what did we have? We had the state of Georgia threaten the prosecutor, turn her personal life inside out, throw out the case, pay him and the people that admitted to the crimes. Georgia is paying these people millions of dollars now. The Supreme Court says that the crimes that he committed are crimes that he's allowed to do these crimes, and there's nothing that you could do about it. And so now he's just running roughshod and he's doing whatever he want to do. And so when they tell him he can't do something, he ignores them and he does it anyway. Okay. So in the process of doing that, and when you mention about, folk that want to vote, they don't know, a lot of people pretty much don't keep up with, not just what it is that they're voting for, but a lot of people really don't realize and recognize what their real interests are, what's going to benefit them. So primarily, it's like a lot of people say, well, I don't have a need to vote. When I hear that, my opinion, when I hear that, I think, one, that there's got to be a better job when it comes to civic education. And I know that's a lot for a lot of people as we get more and more advanced here into this 21st century, because the world is now moving like at speed, at light speed. It's moving really fast. So to actually take some time a lot of times to say, well, let me just help you to understand this, people aren't having time for that. What are some of the things that we can do to pretty much try to help a lot of people to understand how the world's functioning and working and what's really good for them and what's not?
Put civics back in the schools. That's one. Because I know when I was in school, I took civics. I took civics in the 9th grade. That's one, where you learn about the 3 branches of government and how the government works. But on a bigger note is, I think it's important, and I'm thankful and grateful for this type of platform. Having honest conversation with community, and like you said, when you hear folks say that, take the time, if they're interested, to have a conversation with them, but listen to where they're coming from. Ask them questions about their lack of understanding and knowledge. The thing is, education is the key. You have to take the time to educate folks. Because when I hear folks say that they hadn't voted, I ask them why. Because I'm interested in knowing why they didn't vote. Get a better understanding in, if they tell me they're apathetic, what are you apathetic about?
Mhm.
What's your loss in interest? Then I talk about how it affects their lives if they look at the bigger picture and do a comparison of, hey, when this person was office, what was your life like versus what's happening now? But there was a point I wanted to make, but I lost it. Will come back to me.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's there's such a disconnect with the young generation in our country. I'm 40, so for me, I grew up old school. The same thing, we're not being taught in our education system the same things that I was even being taught. But the problem is we focus solely too much on entertainment instead of real issues as a society.
Mhm.
We have these kids have no idea how to write a check, how to write a letter, how to just anything, how to function as normal human beings in society. They think that the world is YouTube, Twitch streams, and TikTok. I have no Instagram. I have no Facebook. I don't do any of the social media. I have real life problems. I work hard. I have multiple businesses that I operate. I have no time to market, do all that stuff. But, to each their own to that point. But also, there's not enough driving force, even on these social media platforms, that provide education with current policies, politics, with economic conditions, with anything. I mean, you literally have to have hard conversations that people don't want to have because it doesn't involve money. It doesn't involve money and it doesn't involve entertainment, so nobody wants to hear about it. So that's the problem. That's the big disconnect that we have from the people that are older to my generation and then to the younger. There's just such a huge disconnect in the information that's being shared.
Right. And to piggyback what you're saying, when information is shared, it's misinformation and disinformation
Yes.
about what is true and what was in fact was factual and was not factual. And a lot of times people will run with the misinformation. But also in this current world that we live in, we have to deal with AI. And AI is creating these false narratives that people believe and sending out a lot of information. Because I remember this last political cycle and the cycle before that, there was so much misinformation that was out there via social media platforms, internet, YouTube, whatever the case may be. I stopped watching certain things and disengaged because I knew better and I knew it wasn't believable. But everybody does not come from that place, especially if you're talking about in rural areas. And to your point of talking about generations,
Yes.
you have the younger generation, they're used to TikTok and everything else. Then you have my mother's generation, no clue about social media. They have limited information about computers, technology, and or the like. So I'm with you. How do we really reach those individuals where there's such a wide, vast gap?
Something James said that I've been talking to folk, not just in my family, but just a lot of folk around in just different areas or communities, is that one, how is it that these parents today are allowing their kids to come up through these schools that's from grade school, middle school, and high school, where now they do not have to cursive right. They do not. They're not taught to learn what it is to critically think. They are taught to sit there, do some stuff on a computer, like you mentioned, the AI situation. The AI situation is primarily taking the mind. Now, when I say that, AI is here, it's going to be here. But what I think is happening with that is that it's becoming an overkill. And so I think those that train the AI to do the things that it does, like you're talking about the false things that are being put out, that's programmed into the AI. And so
Absolutely.
this is how the AI gets to do all of that, which means that if people are learning how to code and to put the bad information into the AI, it has to make all of us think, why are we dealing with that? Because I mean, there's a lot of good that could come out of this, but we are seeing the bad right now, and I mean, it's like in your face, just like Donald Trump. So my thing is, if when we're sending kids to school, um, shouldn't we be much more on top of what our kids are being taught? Should we not be a part of those decisions and the decisions that's being made as to what you're teaching my child?
Should, but part of it is, if you think about it realistically, they want folks to not be critical thinkers and analytical thinkers. Because if folks are critical thinkers and analytical thinkers, then guess what? I'm going to challenge the things that you say and or do. They want a society. Why do you think they're attacking the education system? Part of the reason why they're attacking the education system practice, they don't want us to be critical thinkers. They don't want us. They don't want folks to be analytical thinkers because they want these. And on top of, they're using the fact that these newer generations, they're attached to their phones and other things, and they're using all those mechanisms to dumb folks down, truthfully. And they're using the education system to as their culprit to make it happen. Why do you think they're removing cursive writing and all these other things? Why do you think they're attacking and moving African American studies and all these other things in the school system? Why do you think they're coming for our HBCUs? Because again, an educated black, let's talk about race, an educated black person is dangerous. Dangerous because you just can't tell us anything because we think critically and analytically. They don't want kids to do that. It's up to parents. It's up to parents. Education starts at home. It does. And it's important for parents to be aware of what their children are learning. The greatest teachers are your parents. I'll just say for me, my greatest teachers were my parents. It started at home first. Because I was told from a young age that I was going to get an education. I was told that from 3 on up. So when it came time for me to graduate, it wasn't a question of if I was going to college, it's where you're going.
Exactly.
And here's the caveat to that. With burnout, we have to be extraordinary to be their average, right? So we have to hold multiple hats. We have to teach our kids. We have to have conversations with our young children, with our young adults about equality, about with the police brutality, with everything. Right now, you get white America where I know this was a few years ago, but with the whole issue at UCLA and USC where it's pay to play, right? So these kids have no athletic experience, no education, don't have the grades, but they're getting in because their parents have the money to get them a fake scholarship to go into school. They get the education. It's not what you know, it's who you know. They're being taught the wrong way to do it. Now, us on the lower end, because we might not have the means, we might not have the access to the individuals that they have. We have to work 5 times, 10 times as hard just to get a hint of an opportunity. And that's just one small focused group. If it was spread across the country that all these people would have some opportunities, it's a dangerous event for the people in power. And historically, there's only been a handful of families that have controlled the things that go on in this country, and that's what they don't want to see happen, is that they don't want to level the playing field, because if they level the playing field, now we're starting to affect real change. We are going to implode the system. We are going to start to rise up and not take certain things that we're being shoved down our throat right now. The inflation, the police brutality. I mean, there's so many variables that we can discuss of why they do what they do and where it keeps us, as a culture just of minorities. It just keeps us in a certain box and allows them free reign to live and do whatever they want. And then they only allow certain select celebrities, entertainers, athletes, politicians, professional, people into their little groups, and then they keep that thing going because nobody wants to pay it forward. Everybody has to hide their thing. That's why when Colin Kaepernick did what he did, it was premature for what he did, but what he did was on the right path. He just did it very prematurely and didn't think it through. But I commend him 100% for doing what he did. He sacrificed his career. He did everything for the greater good. He just did it prematurely, and he did it without thinking it through and the right people behind him. And I wish other people would do that. Other athletes, other entertainers, like a LeBron James, like a Beyonce, like a Jay-Z, like some of these people would do it, would sacrifice their platforms to do that, because that's where the change is going to happen. Because these kids, they don't look up to politicians. They don't look up to, they look up to entertainers, athletes, people that they see that have the money and the flash and the cars. That's the people that this younger generation look up to. And that's the problem.
Let me tell you, we got some comments here in the chat, and if you guys want to respond to these, that would be great. The three that are in here are from Coach Carrie Willis. The first one's on the screen. She says, the youth are on social media. If you want to reach them, meet them where they are. Any comments for that?
That's true, because in the work that I do, working in public health, some of the work that I do and I've done in the past for years, I've used social media to engage with individuals. I agree that that's a huge way of reaching youth, but it has to be purposeful and intentional.
I agree also. It's just not for me. It's not for me. I would rather, I'm constructing a sports complex in Pennsylvania, and it's an 80,000 square foot complex, and we're going to teach financial literacy, emotional intelligence, and life after sports. And we're going to have a nonprofit sector where we're going to bus inner city kids that can't afford to get in. And I want to see those kids in person. I don't want to be a persona on social media or some perception of what reality is. Social media is nothing but perception. There is no reality to social media. I don't care. You can argue me down all day. All these people that go on there talking about they make $10,000 a day doing it's all garbage. I want to see real people and give them real results, teach them faith-based leadership, create real community leaders, and set them up for life after they're on or off the court, on or off the field. And even if they don't play sports, we want to develop good, wholesome human beings that go into society and are successful and can pay it forward down the road to the next generation and so on.
Her next comment here is this to you, James. Her dad is almost 80 and he's on social media. Lord have mercy.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I love it for people that, if they need an outlet for entertainment, that's great. But as far as taking it seriously, I could never take social media seriously. It's not something to me. There's one thing, when Facebook started, it was a way for people to connect in different colleges and network and stuff like that. And LinkedIn is great for, business, for people to share and open opportunities as far as business. But TikTok and Snapchat and Instagram is just prostitution. TikTok and Snapchat, it's just prostitution. I mean, every time you go down, I think my wife shows me, it's just a woman shaking or twerking or doing something like this. And then, men on there just, how much for a Cash App and all this. It's just like, it's disgusting. It is demoralizing to our country and for what we stand for. And we should be ashamed that we promote such sexual prostitution and disturbing images that our children are seeing. I mean, it's disgusting. If you have a 10-year-old I have a 7-year-old girl. I don't let my child on social media. There's no way I'm going to allow my daughter to be subject to such prostitution online. There's no way. No way. Now, when she's 18 years old, and if she wants to have a Facebook page or whatever it is at that time, I mail, you know, maybe that's her choice, but again, she's an adult. I'm not going to be able to control it, but I'm instilling that hard effort of parenting in her now to set her up for life after she's out of my roof, and that so she can be a successful human being and a productive part of the community.
And her last comment here is anything you don't understand can be used against you. It might help, regardless of your political beliefs, to learn modern AI. Do you think people can use AI and be critical thinkers? I think that people can use AI and be critical thinkers. Just the thing is that what's the intention?
Right.
Because if your intentions are to for the benefit of society, then I can understand that. But if you're setting up and you're coding algorithms that are doing a whole lot of falsity, then I don't see that. I don't like that. I would not, I don't think I could ever understand that. Because if we're that dark that we can go and we can actually program AI to do all of these things that we know is causing harm, that's a problem. And what that problem says, what that says to me is that these people not only don't have good intentions, their intentions are to just cause harm. I'll just put it like that. It's to cause harm. Because anytime you can buck a lie, and by bucking the lie, you are the problem. Is that bizarro world or what? Because I never understood that when you can speak truth and correct a lie, that's wrong. So I mean, all of that is generating out of AI. I don't think everything about AI is bad, but it could definitely be used a whole lot better and a lot different because a lot of people are in such fear of artificial intelligence that I mean, they just don't want to have anything to do with it. Not one thing.
I believe two things can be true at one time, but AI has already done some harm. I just saw on the news and read the same article about the situation that happened. I think last year sometime there was a teenager
Yep.
who developed a relationship with AI and became an unhealthy relationship, and he ended up committing suicide because AI told him to take his life. I can't remember the AI program, and there was another incident similar to that as well, where unhealthy relationship. But part of that also goes with parenting. You should know what your children are accessing on their computers and on their phones.
I mean, AI is a double-edged sword. You know, it's extremely, extremely helpful if used correctly. But
Right.
to Charles's point, um, we don't know. I mean, it's not born, right? So it has to be created. It has to be coded. It has to what's to stop somebody if they have a racial agenda, if they want to wipe out a demographic of people, whether, you know, and Broderick, I know you're an advocate for the LGBTQ. What if there's an agenda implanted internally into that AI that just automatically discriminates against that community? What if
Right.
there's, you know, what if it's something that, you know, look what the modern era we're living in with ICE and what they're doing. What if there's an agenda that's to just target immigrants or people that look like immigrants or something? There's so much that we don't know that goes into the coding. That's what makes it dangerous.
Right.
Now, if
Absolutely.
there's no regulatory steps that are taken to make sure that this stuff goes through stringent criteria before it's released, then who's authorizing that? Who's authorizing that release? So we still have to have some type of faith that the people that are overseeing the creation and the implementation of AI, that we trust them. And that's the hardest thing. It's, you know, you couldn't have told me 20 or 30 years ago that you'd be comfortable taking a ride with a stranger in an Uber or doing an Airbnb, but that's the time we live in. So now it's like we have to have that faith that these programs are being coded by responsible individuals that have the public concern in mind.
But to your point, James, I believe there should be measures in place for this and some governance, because anything that have governance becomes dangerous at some point in time.
Yeah, but also that when it comes down to the situation with the AI is that we know that it can fit across many facets and do many things. Now, the thing that I'm always questioning and what resonates more in my mind is that when you have these top tech companies like Google and Microsoft and the folk out there in Silicon Valley that did the Chat GPT, the thing that I'm concerned about is that what James was talking about when he said that what if it's coded and like it's meant to take out a demographic. Now, when you think about it and you think about some of the lies that have been spread, the majority of them, and again, this is not me saying anything against Chat GPT, but just saying all of those things that have really come out that's been really harmful have all come from Chat GPT. Now, they're trying to do something about this, as they say, but they're trying to change that AI. But while they're trying to do that, look at what Google and Microsoft are doing with Copilot. Now, Copilot is actually, I thought it was a pretty good AI because I've used it, a little bit, and it does some good things. But there's some things on the other side that I guess maybe if you use it enough, you'll get to find out some other things about the AI. And I think that once you start to understand that, it kind of makes you go on pause. And you may have to go on pause when we're thinking about it because, one, Google and Microsoft are always collecting information. And so this is the question. If using their AI, do you honestly think that they're doing more that's going underneath or behind the scenes that's collecting more of your information and your data?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. The short answer is yes, because we are in this country and they're always collecting data in some way, shape, form, or fashion. So, yes.
Yeah, the Consumer Privacy Act, I mean, that's a bunch of garbage. They do what they want. We can't control what they're going to monitor. You can turn your phone off. You can turn your location sharing off. If they want to find you, they're going to find you. If they want to listen to you, they're going to listen to you. There's no hiding from data sharing or from them getting any information on you. If somebody wants it, they're going to get it.
To give an example, say for instance, you click something on social media, a picture or whatever the case might be, whatever it is will come up. Similar products, ads will come up associated with whatever you clicked on. Of course, they're collecting your data all the time.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah. So with that being said, are there any pressing issues that you guys feel like are some things that people need to know about or understand more so than anything as to where we are, not just for this week, but maybe going forward?
Talk about voting. The importance of voting and what's happening in the state that you reside in. Reference to them changing the voting rights and what is necessary to vote. Don't wait to the last minute to figure out what is necessary to vote or what you need to vote, and registering to vote, making sure that folks are registered to vote. That's super important, especially in the current times that we're living in. It is paramount that we start educating folks now. Don't wait as it get closer to November to start educating folks. We're in January. We're almost at the end of January. So basically, we should have started January 1st, truthfully. We need to educate folks and really look at the states that folks live in, see what changes they have made, how the laws impacted your right to vote. Now, when you start educating folks and educating people on who is running for office and see if they align with your views and values.
And I also like to bring in community into that. I mean, there's, we always talk about Black Lives Matter. We talk about community. But a lot of people don't practice it. And the problem is we want change, but we don't come together to create that change. We still have that dirty dozens mindset where it's like, you got to put somebody down because of the shade of their skin or the economic condition that they might be in, or the way they were brought up, or the street that they live on, or the color that they wear. We got to get away from what they're trying to accomplish, and they're winning. We're having the highest rates of brown on brown, black on black crime. The gangs are taking over. They're killing each other. We're keeping ourselves in a box, and they're just watching us and laughing. And the problem is that, and that's where my mission with the complex is, again, to create these young men and women, bring them into an arena where they share a common ground with athletics, but then they also know, hey, look, I'm not from the west part of town or the north part of town or the east part of town. We're all from the same region. So let's band together and put our region athletically on the map. And then I want to build satellite campuses across the country so that we can build that unity through athletics. It doesn't mean that you have to be black, brown, white, Asian, whatever. It's just we're coming together for a common cause. We have the same mindset, and we're all thinking the same way with the same goal in mind, is to be better athletes, to be better people. And that's the problem that I see just even in our minority community, is that we're too busy fighting each other instead of fighting the people that really matter. And I think that's something that needs to be shared more, especially with our young people. Stop killing each other. Stop trying to compete with one another. Bring each other up. The white people, they bring each other up. It's not, like I said, it's not what you know, it's who you know. And they keep bringing people up through the ranks. And that's why they keep the succession going. These families keep being successful because they keep grooming their families all the way up. And they keep the money and they keep the power within that centralized pocket. We can be so much more powerful than we believe. We just have to start working towards it.
Agree with you 500%. And that is where, when you mention community, it's like it's a whole lot when you look at the situation. I want to tell you this is firsthand, and that is, wanting to build community. I understand the essentials and what that take, but when I actually go into the task and I just look at different communities, oh my God, the work, as you say, is totally overwhelming. But the problem is the main thing that you mentioned. Where are the other people that can help me do this?
You can't be the only one.
Yeah,
you can't be the only one, and you have to start with coalition building.
See, that's just the thing, is that, not everybody. So I just want to make sure I clear that. Not everybody, but we're talking about some monumental task. And so these tasks are not just like 10 people. It's going to encompass an enormous amount of people because that mission is huge. So, it may take some time with the little bit of support to chip away. And I guess for some, you can look at it as, hey, a little is something, but, we don't have that much time, is the way I look at it. And if we don't have that much time to take hold of our communities and coalesce them together and build them and have them bonded, I mean, that's got to be something that's got to be done like in a 2-3 year window with the way things are right now. Because in just mentioning how these folk are continually bringing up these folk in these families, that's keeping this generational wealth, that is to keep your feet on the necks of those that you consider to be beneath you. So all of us should have that same sense of urgency. to build community, but a lot of us don't.
Absolutely not. I agree with 100%. And to add what you're saying, sometimes you have to go where the people are. Every Sunday, the people are in the different denominations across whatever city that you live in. Yep. Go where the people are. Start with the churches. That's where a lot of us receive our information. Historically, this is where we receive the information. This is where a lot of coalition building has happened. Bring together, that's bring together some the pastors across whatever denomination they are, because we have to get buy-in from community. And sometimes you have to start with the gatekeepers that have access to the people.
And we got to stop these corrupt pastors trying to get private jets and locking doors and $10,000 a person and all that. You know, it's just it's a shame, you know, and just to make it a lighthearted, but it is just a shame, you know, that we put certain individuals in power and they corrupt their power. And I think that's where we have to get away from the, you know, Martin Luther King we don't want him to die in vain. You know, he had his visions, and the pioneers that came before us, they have their visions. The problem is that, you know, even the Black Panther Party started with good intentions and became Black Lives Matter started with great intentions and became what it became. There's certain things that, you know, everything at the foundation is in the right cause, and it just trickles off because people start to lose their mind. They get drunk with power, and that's what we have to start, you know, getting away from, educating and holding each other accountable. You know, if you see your brother or sister falling, it's like, you know, bring them up, you know, instead of just waiting for them to fall so you can take their spot. You know, everybody's always worried about what the next person has or doesn't have, instead of worrying about the bigger picture. And that's a lot of the thing is people are so short-sighted instead of looking further into the future and thinking about, oh, you know, when I'm gone, I want to make sure my kids and my kids' kids and everybody else is set. They're just worried about what they can get right now and what's self-gratification in the moment. And that's where I think we have to educate on that and community.
And piggyback what you're saying, there's been a huge paradigm shift of I want what I want now, and I don't care how I get it, even if I have to step on somebody else to get it. And we have to move away from that culturally and work together, because this is the thing: you don't know what it took for them to get that. Do you want those problems?
Mhm.
But sometimes people are willing to undercut somebody else to get in that position. We have to stop doing that, because at the end of the day, it doesn't serve community. And we need to get back to the belief in community. We've gotten so far away from community, and now we focus on the have and the have-nots. And I'm with you. Social media has been a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. I'm with you about social media promoting all of these folks that say they have, but truthfully, do they really have what they say that they have? And microwave society now. We're in a microwave society where people don't want to work and build to get things. They want it instantaneously. And that's part of the problem as well, which does not serve the community on a long-term basis. This is my opinion.
What do you guys think about this attack on the freedom of the press? Did you guys hear about the situation with Don Lemon, where President Trump and Nicki Minaj, you know, had some of the worst things and hate speech to say about him, including Nicki Minaj with all of the gay slurs? What do you guys think about that and the freedom of press?
They want to silence people's voices that actually have a following, but actually have a deep-rooted connection to community. Don Lemon actually has a reputable reputation and is a sound journalist. He's been a sound journalist for many years. And now that he's no longer on CNN, he actually can say what he wants to say without having to edit it. And he actually can show things from a different perspective. Nicki Minaj is not even a citizen of this country. Please be quiet. And she's not a citizen of this country. You are married to somebody who has a record based upon sexual assault. Your brother is a pedophile.
Yes.
And you went on Erica Kirk's show. I don't want to say the name of it, but you went on there because it benefited you because you're about to lose your home. Nicki Minaj is a pimp, and you've attacked the very communities that is helping put you in your place and where you are, which says to me you don't care about those communities. You care about yourself. She's very self-serving, and right, and self-serving is a money grab for her. And attacking Don Lemon, like he said, you have no credibility. So why? I don't listen to people that don't have any credibility, and personally, I've never been a fan. So I don't listen to her music. Never have, never will.
Yeah, I think by now, both you and Broderick and probably the audience can understand my disdain for entertainment at this point. Not disdain, we all love to be entertained, but there's certain, stay in your lane, right? And even to the point where, I get it. We're all human beings. At one point a few years ago, I had some thoughts about LeBron and him making some political comments and statements. It's like, look, it's not shut up and dribble, but it's also know your timing, know your place, pick your battle. Nicki Minaj is desperate right now. I have nothing really to comment on it other than she just needs to know her place. She has absolutely no prerequisite knowledge or educational background to make comments that are baseless when it comes to politics or freedom of speech or any of that. For somebody that can go on and talk, she's had freedom of speech her whole life with her music, which she'd go to another country and it'd be censored. She wouldn't even be allowed to probably perform if she wasn't an American. So there's certain things that she has to realize and do some self-reflection. But I love Don Lemon. I thought, I was glad to see that after he did, to Broderick's point, leave CNN, he was allowed to kind of be, you could see the restraint that he had when he was on the network. And now that he's off the network, to be able to openly, visualize his views and communicate that with the public, he's dangerous. And they want to censor him, and they want to censor people like that. They don't want us, like you said earlier in the show, they don't want us to have the knowledge. They don't want us to rise up and come together collectively as a community. And kudos to Don Lemon for doing what he's doing. They're going to continue to try and censor everybody that has an opinion that's against the norm that they want to dictate. They want to dictate the narrative, and it's not just we're tired of it, and it's not going to happen. And it starts with podcasts like this. It starts, it might not happen next week, next year, but it starts here, and it has to start, and people have to start latching on for it to continue to grow. And Don Lemon and a lot of other people that are going to start to not be censored, especially with this show, it's going to start. And that's what we need to keep the momentum going and keep building on it.
And to piggyback on what go ahead.
Go ahead.
And piggyback on what you're saying, Don Lemon is a black man. He's a black man that has a following. And a black man with a following, again, becomes dangerous because he actually has an audience, a cultivated audience that followed him from CNN, and his platform has grown all the more. And I also want to put another person that I follow, Roland Martin. Love Roland to death because he speaks truth.
Well, I think as both of you guys have mentioned, what makes situations like that so important is that people like myself and those other shows and these particular individuals, the thing is, we don't have to worry about censorship because we don't have a license with the FCC.
Yeah.
And
Right.
see, that in itself makes it so important where, again, coalescing means let's do the thing, because now there's so many people that have platforms like this one, that are all over the country. Now they're going internationally,